My name is T.J. Gorton. I'm going to talk about my novel, Only the Dead, a Levantine tragedy. I'm incredibly happy that it's been shortlisted for the Authors Club Best First Novel Prize, and happily incredulous that to see it in such distinguished company as the other 5 books on the list. My book had a very long gestation, was conceived in Beirut during evenings blockaded at home as the civil war began tearing the country apart, our first and even more memorable experience of sheltering in place. I had the privilege of hearing first-hand stories of the 1915 deportation of the Armenians from the Ottoman Empire, as well as life in Aleppo during and after the First World War. The desire to write a book set in that time and place never left me, but life, as they say, intervened. 40 years later, I revisited those memories and began weaving a story inspired by an old man's recollections of his youth, but not in any sense his story. The chapters of my book alternate between Vartan, my protagonist, young, and Vartan as a very old man. I'll read 2 brief extracts to give you an impression, without hopefully giving away too much of the story. As the book opens, Vartan is in his 80s, isolated in the formerly palatial Beirut house to which he is retired, seeking peace and quiet, but finding yet another war. God, it's stuffy in here, with all the windows closed. When old Bustros built this house, it was surrounded by gardens. He did it right, all this marble and stucco. Just look at that ceiling. It would be even stuffier in a modern place, but it is really warm for May, as warm as that here. Vartan looked at his hands he saw all the time, but never looked at. Now, for no particular reason, they caught his attention. He took a moment to consider them, turning them this way and that. Spots, veins, knobby knuckles, clumps of grey hair. Pfoo! When I think what Maria used to say, you have the body of an ox and the hands of a lady, or of an artist, white and small. Artist, I preferred to think. Now the hands of an old man, all right. Of course, it had to come. I just never noticed. He leaned back in his chair, the overstuffed, once white armchair that had sat like a throne in the vast hall of the old Beirut house for a generation. The library was dark, too dark for reading. Odd rays of afternoon Mediterranean sunlight filtering through the shutters and probing the shadows. New glass in the windows, thank God, with the infernal traffic outside, but why fix the shutters when they'll just take more bullets or shrapnel? Dust motes danced in the sunbeams. Leaning back, he watched their senseless, ceaseless movement, and for some reason thought again of old Bustros, the patriarch of a great Greek Orthodox tribe. He'd be amazed to see his house today, nearly 200 years after he built it, surrounded by roads and overlooked by an office block. Its gardens bulldozed for another road that never happened, that was never intended to happen, turned into a no-man's land, where the militias dumped bodies, sometimes burning them, another reason to keep the windows shut, the oily smoke reeking of petrol and barbecue. As though anyone cared to identify yesterday's victims, it's tomorrow's they're worried about. Vartan, aged 17, meets 2 members of the armed Armenian resistance against the Ottoman program of extermination. They ask him to deliver a basket of hand grenades, disguised under a layer of dates. The souk was still crowded, it being a Thursday afternoon. Tomorrow would be the Muslim Sabbath. I felt eyes staring at me from all sides. Surely someone was going to guess that I was not delivering dates. Shouts of buying, selling, and bargaining filled the close atmosphere of the enormous covered market. The empire's at war, I thought. People are dying not so far from here, and look at these Alepians busy buying a bar of soap as though their life depended on it. Suddenly my thoughts were roughly interrupted, as something shoved me forward, nearly causing me to drop my basket. I clutched the wicker handle with both hands and lurched out of the way, relieved to see that it was only a muzzle shove by a donkey, bristling with a clattering bouquet of tin pots and kettles. A barefoot boy was hurrying it along, whacking its backside with a stick and shouting, "Balak, mind your head." It was hot, more like July than late May. This year is in a hurry to get somewhere, I thought, God knows where. The long walk with my heavy burden made me sweat profusely, irritating rivulets running down my forehead under my black felt cap and continually fogging up my glasses. I told myself that's all it was, heat, not fear, though I was afraid, my stomach in a knot, an acrid taste in my mouth. How did I get here? Why did I jump into this crazy mission without thinking as usual? An Armenian caught carrying bombs through the bazaar at this stage in the war. Best not to think what would happen if I got caught, not just to me, but to my Riga, the children. As I walked, I tried to distract my thoughts from the queasy fear that pinched my stomach. Everybody seemed to be looking at me suspiciously, ready to shout the alarm for crime or blasphemy, starting the hullabaloo which the bazaar loves to indulge in from time to time. Just not today, please. Suddenly Omar was there, right in front of me, my best friend, but I was not glad to see him. Why today, of all days? Can I not just walk undisturbed through the sukkah? Ya salam, Varo, what in the world are you doing here at this hour? Fetching dates, are you blind? Marig is making tamriya tomorrow, and if you touch so much as one, I'll pull out both hairs of that ridiculous moustache with my fingernails. Omar laughed, darted forward to pluck a date from the basket, and looked strangely at me for a second, before turning on his way to pray at the Umayyad Mosque, as he did every day at this hour, spitting out the date stone as he went. My excuse was a stupid one. Myrick did not cook sweets at home, and Omar must have known it. Thank you.